The brand new season of World of Tanks console has finally been announced, and there may be some balancing changes to the WIESEL tow coming up, and we'll get into all of the update news regarding those vehicles later on in the video in particular, and all of the balancing changes that Wargaming are proposing as part of this update, albeit there is limited information, but the brief overview of it is what we can give today, as well as the complete season information, including the new tanks that will be coming as part of the season and some of the returning tanks that will be available as part of the battle pass. So yeah, this is going to be the Patriots season, which will feature, of course, a brand new tank. You can see it on screen right here. This is the vehicle that we'll be seeing in the game on the 21st of May, which is Tuesday next week if you're watching this as it goes live, or if you're watching it coming up to the 21st of May, it is the nearest Tuesday to when you see this. So with that being said, what actually comes in the battle pass? Well, there is the new TS50 or 60 even, which is essentially a brand new vehicle that we'll be able to obtain. There is also a new K1 vehicle, which is part of the Cold War vehicle, and then we've got the HMH ISU 130 alongside the Motherland and the AMX Chaffee, which are all available as part of the season pass, and we'll cover all of these vehicles throughout. And of course you can go and check out some of these vehicles that on the channel that we've already done. The HMH ISU 130 is an amazing vehicle to try, as well as the AMX Chaffee, and the Motherland is kind of outdated, but it's still quite fun. So what do you get as part of the free rewards? Well, there are a vast amount of rewards that you can get as part of the season, but the free ones come with the free HMH ISU 130 Tank Destroyer, which is the stage 100 reward that you will get from this season, which I think is pretty good. This tank is actually really fun to play. It's a tier 8. It has really nice rounds that effectively enable you to lower your penetration to get increased damage, making this one of the highest damage per minute vehicles in the game at tier 8, if not the highest damage per minute vehicle in the game at tier 8, which is crazy, and it really is a ton of fun. And so to get that for free without having to purchase the season pass at all is really nice. Now, if you've got 2,000 gold on your account, then I highly recommend you spend that gold on purchasing the season pass. Now, I'm not saying that you have to, I'm just saying that it is undoubtedly worth it if you've got the gold on your account, because you get the gold back from actually getting the season, as well as extra premium vehicles for free, essentially, as well as a load of other boosters, silver, XP boosters, war chests, all of these sorts of things actually make it so you can profit nicely with the gold amount that you get back, because you get 3 war chests on top of getting all of that gold that you would have got or that you've paid for that season, and then extra gold in those war chests. I think it's guaranteed to be about 800 to 900 gold, but if you get a premium tank out of it, which there's a fairly good chance of, yeah, it's really nice. And of course all of the other bonuses that come with, like the paid season pass. Now this paid season pass, this comes with the tier 7 AMX Chaffee light tank. This is the French light tank that has an autoloader, and is kind of a hybrid between an American light tank and a French light tank, with the Chaffee's lower half and the AMX 1375's turret. It's a really nice vehicle. I find it really nice to play. I think it's a great one. And then you get the Motherland as part of the season pass as well, and then you also get the K1, the Detente Era 3 independent heavy tank, and the skin challenge at stage 100. So you get a skin challenge at stage 100, which is cool, and I think these sorts of challenges should be quite good, and hopefully they'll develop more over the course of kind of when these seasons come out, and in general more permanent challenges to be able to actually unlock skins for various different tanks. Enough gold to cover the next 2,000 gold season pass, so there you go. Wargaming have even told you, so that's really nice. I highly recommend you do it. Of course, if you go past the season rank 100, you can actually go up to rank 124 is when the kind of benefits stop actually being able to be got, which is that when you get to season rank 100 18, you'll be able to actually get a 25% Commander XP bonus on every battle that you play in the season from that point onwards until the end of the season. And then, of course, if you go 6 levels higher, you'll actually get a 25% silver bonus on every multiplayer battle for the rest of the season. And this is really, really nice to grind out silver. And when you get to rank 100, you also get 25% vehicle XP, which is great to join in with as well. So basically a 25% bonus to all of your XP and silver when you do get to the season pass rank 124. So a nice one to add in. There's also the free Patriot starter pack. You'll find it in the store on the consoles, whether you're playing on PS4 or Xbox. You can go to the store tab in game and it will be there for free. It will say £0 or $0, whatever. It will be there and you can pick it up for £0. And that is nice. And it will give you some premium time, some silver boosters, some vehicle XP boosters, and some commander XP boosters as well. And it's available for everyone. Now there is, of course, the ISU 130, and that's the one that we've got. But there's one more, the Ultimate Season Pass. Now this, unfortunately, comes with the brand new World War II vehicle, which is the Tier 9 T60 Tank Destroyer, which is an American Tier 9 tank destroyer. And basically, we'll get into the kind of vehicle statistics in a second, but the tank itself looks like it could be quite an interesting one, and I guess we can look into that now. So we've got the 2 new tanks here that we can have a look at. The first one, the K1, this is available to everyone who gets the normal season pass, so 2,000 gold. You can get this if you get to rank 100. This is near a 3, it gets 55% silver bonus, so not particularly the highest in the world. 65 kilometers an hour top speed is okay, nothing outrageous, but it's not bad. You've also then got 9 degrees of gun depression in the driving mode, and then you've got a siege mode which allows you to get 19 degrees of gun depression. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. You got pretty decent penetration values and high damage, 500 per shell, but in era 3 it's not insane, and yeah, it's basically what appears to be what I would call like a medium style vehicle, although it does look like it might get some armor, and we can have a look at the armor in a second. So it looks like you got a bit of spaced armor on the sides, which might help you out, and you've got a little bit of spaced armor on the turret. It does look like it's got quite a flat-ish turret, so you might get penned quite easily, especially from the high alpha TDs with good pen, and of course all of the MBTs that have the super high pen, or maybe even the missile launchers, are going to go through you quite easily by the looks of it. It's got quite a chunky lower plate, but it is quite well angled by the looks of things, so that will help you out significantly when it comes to that lower plate, but probably still a weak point nonetheless. And overall looks like a pretty novel vehicle. I don't think it's going to be incredibly overpowered. It really depends on how the armor model layout actually works, whether it's quite effective. We don't really know, and Wargaming don't offer us any kind of armor values on here, so it's kind of pointless showing this other than to showcase what it looks like and what the pieces of armor are. But yeah, you can see the highest points on this area here in the orange, but yeah, nothing really a whole lot telling you from that. You've got view range, looks like 530, which is okay, and of course then you've got a DPM of 4,500, reload speed of 6.6 seconds, which is decent. APF SDS rounds on both your standard and your premium, so probably most people are going to just be firing premium, and then you got HE rounds as your final round, which is kind of nice to have in case you come up against some of those super annoying vehicles that have way too much armor. But overall, looks like an interesting one. It's probably not going to be your go-to silver earner, as it doesn't get that much. But it looks really nice with the new skin. When you do get to season rank 100, you can get your essentially your new skin by completing extra challenges or extra stages. So completing additional 20 stages, you'll get the swamp skin. So that's what they're kind of coining this. I think it looks quite cool. Then the Tier 60. This is the World War II Tier 9 tank destroyer. Now the Tier 60 we've seen it, or at least a bit kind of visually seen it on PC, and this is essentially a vehicle that has a pretty low alpha damage gun for what it looks like it should have, only 400 damage. Its penetration is pretty lackluster on, well, I'd say lackluster, it's very good, but it isn't what you would think, and yeah, essentially it is a pretty mediocre DPM with pretty mediocre kind of damage and damage per minute in general, and then a reload speed in 9 seconds to do 400 seems pretty long. It's not very fast, its power to weight ratio is okay, so it's going to be somewhat sluggish but not too sluggish. 7 degrees of gun depression makes it kind of annoying to use on a ridgeline because it's rear mounted, and we don't really know what the camo is going to be like, but view range 380 is okay, but it's still not going to be the best at spotting, so looks like this is going to be one of those that doesn't really have a whole lot going for it in most areas, and it really comes down to whether this armor actually works. Once again, Wargaming not actually giving us the armor model of this tank, which is really annoying because we don't know how thick all of these parts are. We have no idea if it's going to be super strong or super weak, but by the looks of it, lower plate looks pretty strong, turret looks pretty strong, but it just depends on how strong it actually is when you're firing your rounds against it. So fingers crossed it has at least a little bit of armor to make it worth playing, otherwise you probably just won't want to play this thing. This one does have a skin by the looks of things, so you can see it here, the normal version here, and then the skinned version over here, and this is part of the Ultimate Season Pass, so you have to pay 6,000 gold to pick up this thing, and not sure whether that is entirely worth it, but it really depends on whether you want to spend your money on it. I will probably be picking up this one as part of the kind of season, but let me know whether or not you guys are actually looking forward to this, and it would be nice to see a balanced vehicle, hopefully, as long as the armor isn't completely broken from the front, which it may be. It's Wargaming we're talking about here, but at the end of the day, hopefully it is somewhat well balanced with a lot of features that are, you know, meh, kind of okay, nothing crazy, and then some okay features that are pretty good, but yeah, no overpowered outrageous view range, camo, alpha damage, reload, DPM like we see with some of the other tanks would be great. Things like the Turan, for example. If you've seen the recent video that we did on that, I highly recommend having a look, because playing 2 games in that thing and having an average damage of 8,000 seems pretty crazy. But the Patriot Season Commanders you can see here, these are the ones that you can pick up. So you've got Bernard Montgomery, you've also got General Patton himself as a 3D hero commander that you can use in the game if you're interested. And then yeah, you can purchase season stage buyouts, which in my opinion I would never ever recommend, because they're just stupidly expensive. 250 gold per stage. It's only worth it if you're like 3, 4, 5 stages away from completing the season, because at the end of the day, if you can't get the final tanks, you miss out on premium tanks. Maybe it's worth spending the 1,000 gold to pick up the 2 premium tanks at rank 100, but that's completely up to you, and of course sometimes it might be worth it, but if you're going to buy out the entire season, please don't do that. It's 25,000 gold to do that, and it's crazy to do that because it's so easy to earn the points, so be aware of that. But now comes the interesting part of the video, at least with regards to the actual game, because we've got some updates. There has been the APDS, APFSDS, and APFSDS-DU shell mechanics been updated. It means that these shells will no longer ricochet when they hit at an auto bounce angle on thin and high sloped armor. Instead, at this angle they will shatter to stop the shot traps that should not be there. So essentially rounds hitting the tank's armor, bouncing off and hitting another piece of armor and penning. So yeah, that is basically something that it was in the game. They've changed it now so that doesn't happen. It also means that the shell caliber must now be 3.5 times the nominal armor thickness to overmatch. So overmatch being clearly defined here as 3.5 times the nominal armor thickness. So if you've got 100 millimeters of armor, you'd have to have 350 millimeters shell caliber to be able to pen it. So basically no one overmatches 100 millimeter thick, but if you've got 40 millimeters, you've got to hit I believe 140mm total to be able to actually go through it, which 152mm, 155mm, anything above that, the 183s, etc., are going to go straight through the side of a tank regardless of the angle that you might be hitting it at. So does it affect World War II tanks? No, it does not, because they don't actually have those shells, at least on the majority of vehicles in the game. So yeah, nothing really to say there. But there is, of course, the update news for this season and what comes with this season, because there's always additional updates. Usually they're kind of bits that Wargaming have been working on, of course, with the shell mechanics update and stuff like that. But Cold War ram damage update. This is where the WIESEL might actually finally get the first glimpse of a nerf in the game, which is that Cold War tanks can have a massive weight differential between vehicles, which can cause very light vehicles to sustain very little damage in these types of collisions. So for example, going in your big MBT and ramming a WIESEL at top speed at 70 kilometers an hour and dealing 100 damage. This happens quite often, but this should not happen, because at the end of the day, if you're hitting into a vehicle like that and you're traveling at top speed of 70 kilometers an hour in a tank that weighs, 50 tons or something, yeah, the WIESEL basically weighs like a car. That's kind of the comparison. Imagine a 50-ton tank going at 70 kilometers an hour straight into the side of a car. You could probably imagine what would happen. I don't think the car would be moving anymore, but the WIESEL, of course, can just deflect that. It has a shell deflector shield, should we say, at the moment, but this is going to be changed. This is due to the system being designed for the World War II game mode, which was never designed to handle such weight disparity. Based on player feedback, we've changed how Cold War calculates ram damage, so that extremely light vehicles will receive more ram damage when they collide with a vehicle that has a mass 8 times greater than its own. Now, this seems very crazy, but to me it probably should be lower than that. I feel like you should take more damage just based on the weight of the vehicle that you're coming up against, but it looks like they'll receive even more damage when they go above 8 times the mass of the tank. The new change will impact the following vehicles, which will now take more damage in these situations. Let's go. The WIESEL TOW, the Scorpion 90, the M50 Ontos, the FV101 and the FV107. So essentially the light tanks is kind of where they're going with it. Look to see that they haven't actually changed some of the other vehicles, but hopefully they'll come in the future. But yeah, WIESEL TOW is affected. This is going to be the first actual relatively nerf kind of thing happening to the WIESEL, which is very much welcomed by pretty much everything, because it was just BS that you couldn't actually deal any amount of ramming damage when you ram into the thing. But World War II balance pass, there's been also over 90 tanks have been balanced in one go. Over 90 tanks have been balanced in one go. This is potentially a very scary thing, I think. Balancing 90 tanks at the same time, not knowing what is going to happen. Yeah, not entirely sure whether this is great, but maybe there is actually to nerf some of the other tanks in the game. Maybe they're buffing some of the tanks to make them feel a little bit better as tech tree vehicles than some of the premium overpowered tanks that we've seen in the past. Tanks with the Chinese, Czech, French, Italian, German and mercenary nations will have received stat changes. So these are the only nations, apparently, at least according to this article. Maybe there is more, but China, Czech, French, Italian, German and mercenary tanks have received stat changes. There's simply too many lists to list here. They'll also be part of Monday's update notes archive or article even. So we'll cover that when it does come out on Monday. I will make sure to do that for you guys so you're up to date with what tanks have changed, what are the key things that have changed, and maybe some of the tanks that are actually worth playing now from some of these weird off nations that you don't usually see people playing, except from Germany, obviously. But yeah, some of the other ones, it'll be nice to see some of these getting changed. There's also UI updates which feature general style and colors, so various stylized background elements have been removed for a cleaner looking interface. They're also working on color unification across all menus with a new subdued color palette throughout the game's UI. So they're going to be changing some of the colors, make it a bit more dull, or make it like grays or something maybe. But yeah, making it just look a bit more professional maybe is what they're going for. I don't really know, just a clean, crisper UI, which is, I think, is good. Game mode menu. The game mode menu has received a newer layout, so the previous drop-down style menu would sometimes cause players to unintentionally enter the wrong mode, co-op instead of multiplayer. The new mode's now a static element that is always visible. It should be clearer to the player how to navigate and select the desired mode they want to play. So essentially you won't be able to, it's not like you're going to accidentally click the wrong one, which is good. Garage layout. The button layout in the garage was updated by moving the elements like the battle button and loadout into the bottom button legend. The battle button has been stylized to feel part of the button legend instead of a separate element. This also frees up space to better view your tank in the garage. This is nice. I think that's good. And then we've got new launcher tips. So when launching the game, you'll now see tips on the screen to help you in game. I'm sure they'll be really useful. Oh dear, I make myself laugh sometimes. Either way, hopefully these tips are actually useful. Given some of the tips that I've seen in the past, they weren't, and most people already knew them. If not most people, I mean, they were like self-explanatory things, but hopefully this will be a bit more in-depth. It would be better to actually have a tips section in the game so people could learn in the actual game, rather than having to come to third-party sites like YouTube and that sort of thing, because most people aren't going to do that, or maybe even just link the YouTube channels of people who have made guides, not just myself, everyone, and ones that are actually good, etc., and has been vetted or whatever, so that then, you know, people can actually get the information that they need if Wargaming aren't going to do it themselves, in that kind of manner that's easily accessible for people. Other updates, there's changed the default selected currency to silver for premium ammunition. So this is very, very good. It was annoying that it always started off with gold. The amount of times I have accidentally ran in with gold and been like, for God's sake, I've just spent 200 gold, or like, you know, I don't know, 100 gold or whatever it might be in the game. Co-op mode player damage is no longer reduced and can now do their full damage. So this is good. Plus RNG rolls, etc. Plus or minus RNG rolls. New garage gear will be coming in, and other events next week. There will be the contracts for the Smoothman and AMBT, the AMBT premium vehicle tier 8 American medium, which is a pretty interesting one. You'll be able to pick it up for free as part of the contracts page. This is something that you might want to just stick on if you've got no other contracts running, and just try and grind through some of these. There's also the on-track for the M48 pattern line, which is good. This tank line is very, very fun to play. I really enjoy that line. I think it's a brilliant one to play. I've done a video on it recently. So yeah, definitely recommend you going and checking out the M48 pattern. It's a very consistent medium tank, and the whole tank line leading up to it is very consistent as well. We've got a 1 to 35 gold to free XP conversion bonus for the Memorial Weekend between May 24th and the 28th. We've got 50% off all garage gear as well, or all available garage gear, should we say, and earn 2.25 thousand or more XP in any number of battles to get a random drop of medkits, repair kits, vehicle XP boosters, some flags, and a load of decor and garage gear style stuff, as well as a 3 times daily XP bonus as well. So that is part of the game. It will be just a 3 times daily. Every single tank that you have will be 3 times XP for that period of time. You can see the actual garage gear here, so I'll leave it there, pause for a second, alongside some of the new tanks as well. You can see them here. These are the 3 vehicles, or at least 2 vehicles, and then I don't know what this tank is, but maybe we'll see that coming out fairly shortly, if I'm not being wrong. Maybe it's just actually a garage gear, but this could potentially be a new vehicle somewhat. But you can see the tank actual tank traps, as well as like a tank table, a tabletop, which I guess you could pretend like you're the commander, I don't know, but yeah, I mean, it's cool to see. We've also got a new map coming back by the looks of it, or a old returning map. Now this map, I can't remember the name of it. It might be like something Falls, Pacific Falls or something like that. I can't remember entirely. But this map was essentially, you got a railway track on one side, you got this waterfall area on one side, so up here. This is like the middle of the map where you should never go. It's quite a small map. And on one side you got like a little village, and you fight usually on the top area over here with like a little buildings over here where TDs will camp, and then the mediums fight over here with the heavies, and then on the other side to where we are seeing it now, so over here, this is where that kind of oil pipeline is, or whatever it is, or a road. It looks like an oil pipeline, but you can see this is kind of where people fight as well, so kind of over in this area here. If you go in the center of the map, this is a big no-no for almost every tank in the game. I would not recommend going in the middle unless maybe they've considerably changed it, but either way, that is available, this one. And then it appears like we will be getting some more war chests as well, so usually they do a refresh on the war chests as well, but other than that, that is literally everything. I know this has been a fairly long video, but there was quite a bit to talk about with the release of the new season on World of Tanks console. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, leave a like as it helps me out, and hopefully you will see some more of my videos as well if you want to see those, and you can see some right now if you want by clicking on one of the two on screen right now. I hope you have a fantastic rest of the day, and thank you for making it this far in the video, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.